Hello, Oxygen community. All right, welcome back. So I am so loving the fact that we're getting to talk to a few of our coaches this year multiple times. And so we are on video number 2 with what is becoming a wonderful friendship with Francois Lupien and one of our Quebec friends and coaches. If you jumped on and got to see our first video, we got some fantastic questions. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A at the end. But today we're going to continue our conversation about some of the amazing tactics and concepts that he brings to his community. So Francois, thank you so much for joining us a second time.
Kat, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to contribute.
All right, so let's jump right in because our conversation was so full of content last time. And I think one of the things that is a great carryover is how we as coaches, but I think you do this on just an exponential level, even beyond what I know other people do, is forcing people to take responsibility for their own actions, right? The blame game, there's no room for that bullshit around here. So tell me how that got started with you and why it's so meaningful in your coaching.
Thank you for asking. Actually, this is a vulnerable moment for me, but that's okay. Many years ago, I was working with Franklin Covey, and we had territories. We worked in schools and Ministry of Education, and we had 10 months to do our quota. And mine was at $850,000, $5 at a time. So yeah, brutal. Nevertheless, so here I am going, and after 5 months, I barely got 100,000 in. My manager calls me, says, "I'm seeing you tomorrow." I says, "Well, you're far away, so I'm taking the plane." Whoa! I knew I was in trouble. So he flies in and he tells me, "You either shape up or you ship out." I go, whoa, what are you talking about here? He says, "Well, this is unacceptable." I says, "Well, it's not my fault." He says, "What are you talking about?" I says, "Well, I'm trying hard and it's not happening." He says, that's an excuse. I said, "That's so now I was backpedaling like crazy." And so I found what I thought was legitimate things outside of me. And I told them, "Well, you guys shut down the Eastern office where I'm at. And so we only have the Western office. So now there's 3 hours differences. So when the school and ministry want to get a hold of the office, they can't because it's 3 hours. So that's hard." It says, "I don't care, take responsibility." I'm going to take responsibility on this. And so now I'm not happy. So I'm swimming, I'm almost drowning now, but I'm still holding on. And so let's try another one. Well, actually, in the BC, they only have English speaking, and some of the territories that I have is French. So they can't communicate, and so the people are frustrated with the language. He says, that's not my problem. Take responsibility." I go, "What are you talking about? Responsibility? It's your fault." He says, "Lady," he says, "once you take responsibility, we'll make it happen." So then I decided to plant my feet solidly in the ground. I looked at him square in the eye and says, "Okay, I'll take responsibility and I'll make President Circle." And he looked at me laughing. He goes, "Ha ha ha, have a nice one. Just make sure you finish your numbers and have a great day." And he left. For people's understanding here, President Circle is having $75,000 more than what was assigned to you as a territory. So now I said, "Okay, what did I just do?" So then I said, "Okay, let's take responsibility. Let's swallow that pill right now, right here." And so my thoughts, my feelings, and actions needed to be towards where I wanted to go. So I looked on the internet and I found this guy. He's now passed away, bless his soul. And he had this thing called, I think it was Blitzcall. So I said, "This is fantastic. This is really going to help me gain traction." So I decided that the course was not enough. I found the guy's phone number at home. I call him at home. "Hello, it's Francois." He says, "How'd you get my number?" I says, "Don't worry about it. I'm on a mission. I need to make things happen." And he says, "Well, buy my course." I says, "Buying the course is good, but time is of the essence. I need to accelerate the growth here." He says, "What are you talking about?" I says, "I want you as a coach." He goes, "Never done this." So I'll pay you. He goes, "What?" I said, "Yes, let's make it happen." Long story short, he trained me. He never did this before. And Circle, but instead of only 75,000, I did $100,000 over budget. So I did in 5 months what most people don't even do in the whole year. And actually, oh my gosh, a little bag right here. Here it says President Circle. And people say, "Only gave you a cheap bag." I says, "Don't worry, baby. With the bonus that I got, it paid off the mortgage."
I love that so much. I think that that's one of those things we talk a lot about, practicing something, a work skill at home. And there's so many personal things that we need to use that same lesson on, in our relationships with our significant others or our kids. Last time we had our chat, we talked a lot about our kids, but I think that even post-COVID or post the pandemic, we spent a lot of time with our families, and we had to get real, super real with those relationships. And that's a really good tip or a really good piece to work on when it comes to taking responsibility. You know, it's not always our spouse's fault, or it's not always our, you know, whatever the thing is. I always say control the controllables. That controllable sometimes is you.
Absolutely. And I like that you mentioned that, because one of the things through introspection with this, I realized that when you blame things outside of you, you are empowering these things and disempowering yourself. But when you decide to take control, you empower you and you disempower circumstances. And when you come into my coaching, I'm very adamant in this. I don't take no excuses, because I've been there. And one thing I like is, I went through it. And so now I'm not, as you say, slack in telling you to make it happen, because I know that the results are fantastic. So by holding you to this, your results even astonish you. It is a win-win situation.
And that is the basis of it starts with you. You know, that is where you have found so much success. I think it almost takes somebody who has gotten down the journey like you have to break our belief wheel. It almost is that like extremeness that you have to hold someone to, so that they can break their beliefs, because you know that if they can really start with themselves, they will eventually understand that they really are that powerful.
Absolutely. And you're right. It starts with you. And that's one of the things I like with the stuff that you're doing as well. You were referring something that you went to a meeting and someone was not living their standards, and you went to this, hey, you need to live those standards. And they step up to the plate and they made it happen. Sometimes, you know, I say, I like when my clients are my friends, but I'm not your friend. I'm your coach. Friendship is a bonus that we have. I'm here to make things happen for you, because it's going to transform your life and the lives of all those whom you come in contact with. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny that people who are unaccustomed to that, you know, it all starts to kind of sync together, you know. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Actually, that's a nice, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but my dad, who's a doctor, used to say, if you make it hard at first, it's going to be easy for a long time. If you make it easy at first, it's going to be hard for a long time. And this is so true. You have to pay the price. I have this thing here, that easy button. I say the easy button doesn't exist, but yes, it does. But it only exists when you pay the price. If you pay the price, then there's an easy button. If you never pay the price, there's never an easy button, because you're not the person you need to be in order to accomplish the tasks that need to be done.
I heard somebody say the other day, you can't pay somebody to do push-ups for you.
That was me.
Was that you? Oh my gosh. I was like, I feel like I love that. And by the way, I also hate that. By the way, I had to go out for a 2-mile run this morning in the rain. I disliked that too. That was so good. So tell me this, because I saw this in the notes for our call today, and then I thought to myself, I actually don't know that I've ever seen you not smile. Why is it that you are always smiling? Because I can even tell you I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I am not always smiling. So what is it?
Well, that's an interesting thing. And again, it's because of experience. When I was a kid, I used to pout a lot. And my mom used to say, if you would smile, things would be much easier. And that would make me pout even more. But she kept consistently and lovingly telling me that. And my mom, she's 92 and she still smiles all the time. And so from there, all of a sudden, I decided to try it. And when I tried it, life changed in an instant, because the results that we get are a reflection of who we are. So if I'm smiling, it enables me to be more relaxed. Actually, let's get into this. I'm gold medal in Taekwondo. And I tell you that as a gold medalist, whenever you're in the ring to fight, if you tense up, you're going to get hurt. If you relax, things are much easier. And it's interesting that when you relax, it seems that the opponent's moves are slower. You can see them more. So that relaxation comes from a peak performance level, and smile enables you to relax. If you smile, everything's good. So if everything is good, you see it with different glasses, and those glasses enable you to see the good in it. And when you do, then you act on it, and it's much easier for you and for others. And my mom again used to say, no one needs to smile more than someone that can't give it back to you.
Wow, your mom and dad were awesome. I feel like I need that quote in my life too. Francois, you're killing me here. That's a fantastic one. I was telling a little person that I have in my life, she was having a rough day the other day, and she had a moment of anger, and it had cost her some high value things in her life. And I said to her, you always have choices in life, right up until the point where you get angry. And anger takes your choices from you, because people stop listening when you get angry. And, think about it, as parents, when we would have an angry child, like that's when we started taking things away, which was exactly this scenario in this situation. But then as translated to adults, if we're negotiating with someone, or we're really just out even with our friends and somebody's pissed off about whatever it is, politics or the service from the waiter or whatever it is, you stop listening. And I think that if we can keep that such a simple concept, if you will just remain with a smile on your face, your choices remain you have so many more, maybe not all of them. And it doesn't even necessarily mean you're going to get one of them, but you're at least keeping your choices open.
Absolutely. And how interesting that anger is you reacting to outside circumstances. See, we're going back to taking responsibility again.
Yeah.
Let's try this on for size. If someone's angry with you, it's your fault. What? No, it can't be. Ponder upon this. You set the stage for people around you. So what are you doing? Are you conflicting with people? Are you bashing head? Even if you subconsciously are doing it, if people are reacting badly, that's what I like to do all the time. What I like to say, how can I change the situation? How can I make it better? How can I make them happy? How can I them feel value on this? How can I enjoy the process? So these things are empowering the individual to actually take advantage. And sometimes, another thing my mother said, you're going to say, what? My mother, and it's interesting how she sounds so often. She said, if someone is mad or angry, it's because they have something broken inside. Don't kick it. What?
Okay, so it literally teased me up for what I was thinking as you were talking just now. If you start to really listen to it, and by all means, listen to this conversation as many times as necessary, the thread here is we have to show up as a healthier version of us, or the healthiest version as we can. Because I think that morphs so many times through life. Right now you can totally blame my hormones as the older I get. But whether you're going through a divorce or the economic times, which are all of us, they are the factors. They don't get to control it, but they are factors. So you have to do everything you can to show up in the healthiest version you can. I just mentioned I had to go for a run in the rain this morning. My running partner called and said, Kat, it's 50 degrees outside. Get your ass outside and go for a run. That was not the plan, not the plan at all. But it's what I needed, knowing that I had a full day ahead of me and I have not been feeling the best. It was 50 degrees. I don't run in the cold anymore. Okay. So I went out. At this point in our society, it's okay to go outside and go for a run and take that 20 minutes. It's a good thing to drink enough water. It is important to seek out the advice of a coach, your doctor, a therapist, to take care of you, because when you get engaged with coaches like you or like me, the first things that we're going to start asking you are, what's your mindset? How are you presenting yourself? What are your relationships? Most of the time, in my experience, and you can tell me about yours, it's probably not the other person, and it might not be a business problem. It's a you problem.
Absolutely. As I said, it all starts with you. And the thing is, with that concept of taking responsibility, it's almost at first like a slap in the face. What? And people say, it's not me. It's sort of the natural man tendency to blame others when things, but if you take this, that's what I like to do. Whenever people tell me a story about something, I say, okay, let's take this deeper. Where does that lead us? It always leads to ugliness. So I says, okay, what if we do the other way? Well, it would be, and then what would be the end result? Oh, that would be nicer. Okay, so might as well swallow it now and then enjoy the journey later. Remember, again, I says, make it hard at first, going to be easy for a long time. Make it easy now, saying, oh, don't say to people, I'm sorry right away. If you mess up, tell people, I'm sorry, I messed up. One of the things I like from my tribe, and seems to be like yours as well, is I choose to work with people that are heart-centered and service-driven. And because they are that way, I tell them, I says, do you ever intend to hurt other people and mislead them? And no. So therefore, if you make a mistake, admit it. I'm sorry. This is not what I meant. This is what I meant. It just goes so much faster and better doing it this way. So much better.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. So one of the questions that my community has come up with for you, because we gave everybody an opportunity to ask, and if you have questions after watching this one, you can still submit them and we'll get them out and get you answers, was tell us what your morning routine looks like. So obviously you are an accomplished athlete and you have a high driver personality and performance mindset as it is. So what would you tell everyone that your morning routine looks like to get you up and going with a smile on your face?
All right. Well, actually, when my eyes go up, I put a smile on my face and I thank God that I'm alive. That's the first thing. And because I have goals in my life, the blankets run out. And actually, I talked to a Muslim many years ago. And he said that the first thing that he does that touches the ground when he comes out of bed are his knees to give thanks. So that's what I do. I've been doing that ever since. I get on my knees, I give thanks for the night, and I ask for guidance for the day so that I can help my fellow man and make a difference in people's lives. And so that's how I start my day. Then I go and read some scriptures, 15 minutes. I've been doing, I think I have 10,000 hours of scriptures reading so far.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And then what I do is I try to, okay, intentionally, how can I apply this? And then I have my gratitude journal. Gratitude journal that I write every day, things that I'm grateful for, things that I'm really grateful for. And maybe a tip for everybody, when you're doing it and you're writing things you're grateful for, pause after one. You write one, pause, and get that feeling to come into you. Just don't, it's not a checklist, that does nothing, but feel it. So that's the thing that I do. Then I have my life script. So I write my life the way I want it to be. And sometimes it's long and sometimes it's short. That's okay. But I'm intentional as to the things that I want to do. Then I have my list. Actually, I dropped water on this. That's interesting.
Well used.
The 6 things I need to do today. And I write these down and they're here. I have 3 screens. This screen right here is my agenda. So it has a same thing as this, but at least this is a reminder, an outside reminder of what I need to do. And they're always, they need to get traction into whatever I'm doing. It's not like doing grocery or stuff that goes on that thing. No. And so it's important to make them these things that way. And then I do exercise. And according to the day, I do the 5 Tibetans. This is exercise that are actually very cool exercise for us to realign them so they're all spinning. So if they're spinning, you don't get sick. And some other times I have downstairs, I have like 9 exercise machines downstairs, and I do them. And what we do now also is passes on the morning routine. But because of the morning routine, oftentimes when we watch TV, everybody's on a machine.
I love, that's a good way to do it. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that.
It sets the day, and then I study for 1 hour minimum. 1 hour that I study every day on personal development, professional development, or anything to help myself grow so I can show up in a better way. And actually, as I do this, it becomes the content for my reels, it becomes the content for my posts. So by doing it this way, it's fantastic to make the day like, let's go. And so you're purposeful throughout the day. You have intentions on what you do. And I do my breathing from Wim Hof. I do the breathing of Wim Hof every morning. So those of you find out about Wim Hof, he's pretty cool. It's fantastic. So these are the things that I do, and I do them 5 days a week for those who wonder. And the reason I do 5 days a week is because the work days, Saturday, Sunday, I don't do no work if I have to on Saturday, but never Sunday, because you need to get your mind off what you're doing. Stop it. People say, oh, I have to do it all the time. No, you don't. And you're wearing out and you're burning out. So if you're present more to what it is that you do, you will accomplish way more in less time. And if you don't know how, ask Kat or ask me. We'll show you how to do this. You can have a life. You can have your cake and eat it. It's possible. We need to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
That's
I love there's so many interconnected pieces. You know, I think that there's everybody does them in a different order, but there's so many commonalities, right? I am a huge gratitude journal person because there's research out there that says you can't be anxious and have gratefulness at the same time. You know, they test math students like that kids who get anxious on a math test, if they ask them what they're grateful for on the first question, they get a better math score. When you start, so when you actually start your day, if you are an anxious personality, if you start your day with a gratitude practice, you automatically are less anxious.
I love it.
Yeah, or even at a time in your day when you think that, you know, you're starting to feel anxious, just write a few things down. And I love your pause recommendation. Really feel it. Yes. You know, we've got whole segments anywhere on all of our channels or anywhere where we're talking about the actual energy and being able, the days of going through life numb, it's not a thing anymore. And so if you hear anything, I always say we have other coaches on our channel, because what you don't hear me say, I hope you hear somebody else say, and maybe you're ready for it in that moment. But that gratitude practice doesn't get enough credit, because if it works with little kids who are purely open to whatever is being sent their way, and in a math class, right? My mom couldn't get past third grade math, for God's sakes. If she would have been given the first question about that gratefulness, how much more potential would they have been able to get through to her? And, you know, it's just that one little thing, and nobody even really needs to know that you're doing it, but you can be grateful for something as simple as your coffee cup or the air you're breathing in.
It's interesting you say, actually, I have one here. You mentioned about gratitude. I have something that I call how to get back on track fast when your results are going sideways and you feel discouraged. And it's my gratitude thing, and it's a freebie that I have. And today in the super class, I was telling people, if life is coming at you and you're empty, it takes nothing to crush you. Anything on the outside is going to crush you. But if you're full, you can't because the can is full, so I can't crush it. So what I'm telling people, the fastest way to fill you up is gratitude. Take a moment, find out what you're grateful. So you see, I love you, Kat. We're such in harmony. It's cool.
It's in the back of all of our battle books. We give you this is not a negotiable. You can actually have, you know, any one of our journals comes with a bunch of options, but this part for me is a non-negotiable, and we give it to you in the morning and at night. Like, this is how passionate we are about having gratitude in your life. You can tell me you don't have a lot of options for a lot of things, but this one for me is one of those real sticking points. And, you know, we can belabor this point for a long time, but you're hearing it from a lot of coaches across the board. So if you grab anything, besides the fact that the open can thing was really awesome too. You always get me with great visuals. I love that. That's a good one. Okay, here's the next question. What does your Olympic gold medal do for you now? You got it all those years ago. What do you think it does for you today in your life? Well,
let's backtrack. The reason why I got the gold medal is because I ingrained winning habits. Keyword ingrained. I made them habitual. Nobody likes to win. Nobody likes to go running at 50 degrees in the rain. But when you force yourself to do it, then you become radiant. You become much more healthier. And this is a result. But as you force yourself at first to do it, then it becomes easier, then it becomes habitual. So therefore, the habits I developed then are ingrained in me. And the reason why they're still ingrained is because I still nurture them. That's why. Because
That's
if you
great.
don't nurture something, it dies.
Yeah.
You don't nurture a relationship, it's gone. You don't take care of a client, he's gone.
Yeah.
You don't serve people, they're gone. And
Right.
so you don't respect spouse, children, and environment, family, they're not happy with you. And so again, it starts with us, but we have so much more power than we allow ourselves to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that it's amazing, and I think that that's just the ultimate visual reminder that you have so much uncapped potential. So you highly impressed my community. So I appreciate the fact that you showed up. So you and I are going to do this one more time, but we're going to flip the script and let you have at me, since I was the one that have been firing questions at you. So tell my community about your podcast, because you talk to people all the time, and I want to be able to give them information about that so that they can get your wisdom and your teachings more than just our chat. So tell my community a little bit more about your podcast, if you don't mind.
That's interesting. So I'll tell you, the podcast, the way that it came about was I had a client that says, come with me, be a co-host. I said, okay. And then he quits on me. And so this guy's not a quitter. So I'm not going to quit. And so I did not know. I was parachuted to the podcast. And I have a philosophy in life, and my philosophy is the wood stove philosophy. And that is, if you tell a wood stove, give me heat, I'll give you wood, he looks at you and he says, nah, not gonna happen. But he says, as much wood as you give me, that's how much heat I'll give you back. So therefore, for now anyways, my podcast is not about me. It's about the other people that are coming in. And what needs to happen is I need to have someone that's passionate about what it is they're doing, and they share it. And then I get into vulnerability. I ask them, what is it that almost stopped you, that you wanted to quit, like really quit against the wall? And the reason why I know they overcame it is because we're talking. And so how did you overcome it? And what would you say someone that's struggling, how to overcome? The reason I do this is that all of us, entrepreneurs and professionals, when people ask you, how are you? Great. But sometimes it's not great in the back office. And so we need to make things happen. But to mismatch yourself, everybody's saying, oh, that means you wear a mask. Okay, so let's answer this one. Let's say it's not going well in the back office and someone calls you and you say, yes, what do you want? What's going to happen to your business? It's going to be dead. So therefore, you need to shape up and make sure that whenever people are there, you serve them 100%, regardless of what's happening. But the reason for the podcast is a lot of people, sometimes man, is it for me? It's hard. And so I bring them hope that others have struggled and others have overcome, and they've given the ways that they've overcome. So you can say, you know what? I'm not alone in this entrepreneurial journey that sometimes is very hard. Yes, it is, but it's also very rewarding. And so that's what I do. It's empowering the entrepreneurs to be fired up about their mission, vision, and passion, and sharing it with people so they can make a difference in people's lives. That's what my podcast does. So
I love that so much. My dad was a very successful entrepreneur, and I talk about him a lot. That's why I love hearing about your mom and your dad. And he used to say it's lonely at the top. But I think that at this point in the world, that it doesn't have to be as lonely. I will never tell anyone it's not lonely, but it doesn't have to be as lonely, because in the 80s, they didn't have email. They didn't have Zoom. If you couldn't get somebody on the phone, or you couldn't write them a letter, or you didn't bump into them at a conference, you were alone. And the willingness to fail, because you mentioned it earlier, that the ultra masculine piece was a big deal, and egos were at play at that stage.
yes,
We're doing business in a different modality now, and it does not have to be lonely. And the shit that they taught you in business school isn't the reality of doing business. This is not, we say it on some of our lead-ins, this isn't business from a book. This is business in the trenches. And what you are bringing to the world and asking people about is what it takes to really allow people to go to the next level. And I think it's an asset. So tell people where they find your podcast.
And before you say that, I just feel sometimes I go in my gut. I'm 215, 6'4", and I cry sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah, because it makes you authentic. Yep.
But it's living. It's not that macho thing that you were talking about in the 80s. That doesn't fly anymore. And so if we're authentic, we're alive, and being alive, it's great for everyone. So yeah. I really appreciate that of making sure that we can show up more authentically. And so I said this, then I forgot your question.
Oh, that's okay. Tell us where everyone can catch your podcast when it's happening and you're doing these interviews.
Okay, it's on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and it's live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn simultaneously. And you'd find Francois Lupien or How to Become More. My website is howtobecomemore.com, and all my social media things are /howtobecomemore.
Okay, I love that. And we tagged that in the bottom of our first interview. We'll tag it again here. And the other piece that I really love here that hopefully people caught onto was those interviews are live. So no editing, no second shot. These are literally on your feed and making sure that people get the absolute best information that they can. All right, so because this is our second interview, I asked you at the end of our last conversation one of our zinger questions. So I have a different one for you. And we actually asked this of our executive roundtable this last month. So we're going to ask it to you today.
Okay.
I always like to end with these. So tell us right now, what do you fear?
What do I fear right now? Mm-hmm. This is an interesting question. Wow.
Francois, of course it's an interesting question. That's what we do here.
Okay. That's gonna, so hear it and see how vulnerable and transparent. As I'm doing my business, I want to bring Jesus Christ more into my teachings. That's one of the things that I say, what if I do this? Will people not be happy? And then I'm saying, but it's my identity, it's who I am. And it's something, a fear that I have. I'm overcoming it because I have tools to make it happen. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, and how my last two clients are deep Christian people, and I was able to turn things so they go, oh yes, it's in perfect harmony with what I'm thinking, instead of butting head with, a lot of people talk about the universe or the this and says, no, it's God. And so speaking it more often is something that I was afraid. And as of now, which is the 23rd of March, it is no longer. Thanks, Kat. You've made me overcome that fear. Thank you so much. And God bless on that one.
So here's what we say. You can't change what you don't name. And unless you name it, you can't change it.
I love it. You can't change. Yeah, that's it. If it's in your head, it stays there. You take it out outside, or I say writing. And when you write it, you can see it. Then you can deal with it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think even in my own life, we have a tendency to take something that's super tiny and blow it out of proportion. And then once we name it, we can't always change it. But until we actually name it, then we actually have the ability to decide what are we doing with it, exactly. And stop blowing it out of proportion.
Yes, you can deal with it. And to everybody listening, if sometimes even when you name it, you can't deal with it, ask someone else. Ask for some help. That's what I say, that the day you think you know it all is the day you start to fall.
Right.
So let's go see others. Let's go see others. What do you got? What's your angle? And also, I like, and Kat, you walk the talk. So you talk about sales and you do it consistently. So therefore, people listening, you're at the right place when you need sales, because she does it. If someone is just from a book or you heard this is fluff. There's no essence and depth into whatever they're teaching. So make sure that whenever you ask advice to someone, is someone that has walked the talk and knows what they're talking about. Doing that way, you will accelerate much faster. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Francois, hopefully we'll see you in a few weeks on your live channel. I'm super excited to participate. And in the meantime, we tell everyone to take just a little bit of time to breathe life in, and we'll see you all in a few weeks.
Thank you. Much appreciated.